Welcome, gentle listener, to another quiet journey through the layers of time. Tonight, we travel to a place both foreign and familiar, where centuries breathe softly beneath your feet, where stories wait in the cracks of stone and wood, and where the rhythms of life, slow, relentless, ordinary, whisper to those who pause and listen. Tonight, we step into a medieval city. Picture, if you will, the first light of dawn spilling across a city of stone and timber. The rooftops are uneven, sloping in irregular patterns, and the walls lean ever so slightly as though bowing under centuries of wind and rain. A thin mist lingers, curling through narrow alleys like smoke from a hidden hearth, softening shapes and lending an air of quiet mystery. You hear the faint bleating of goats, the clatter of carts on cobbled streets, and a distant bell tolling from the cathedral, echoing against timber-bird buildings that lean against one another for support. The smells are complex, wood smoke mingling with the earthy aroma of damp straw, the Thames of baking bread from early risers, and something fouler lingering near the open drains that run along the streets. You breathe it all in, slowly, letting the textures of this world settle around you. The city is alive, yet harsh. Alive in a way that reminds you of the ordinary, uncelebrated struggles that form the heartbeat of history. Tonight, we will wander these streets. Feel the chill of early morning on your skin. Hear the cries of merchants and children. Sense the weight of work and hunger pressing upon the backs of the people, and understand, slowly, gently, why you might not last a single day here. We will also meet figures who shaped the city in other ways, explore hidden secrets and mysteries, and finally glimpse the contrasting lives of those who dwelled in the towers and halls of power, far above the alleys below. So, settle in, allow your mind to drift softly into this world, and let the gentle hum of history carry you into rest. This is the story of why survival in a medieval city required resilience, patience, and an understanding of life's small, relentless difficulties. As you step fully into the city now, imagine the uneven cobbles beneath your feet, worn smooth in some places, jagged in others. Each footstep brings a sense of rhythm, a reminder of countless generations who have walked this path before you. The streets are narrow, sometimes impossibly so, hemmed in by tall, leaning timber-framed houses, their upper floors jutting over the alleys like watchful eyes. The sun barely reaches the ground, filtered instead through thin slices of sky above the chimneys and rooftops. A cart laden with firewood rattles past, the driver shouting for passage. Chickens scatter, clucking and flapping, while dogs weave around legs, sniffing eagerly at every discarded scrap. The blacksmith's hammer rings steadily in the distance, a sharp metallic echo cutting through the murmuring of townspeople. Voices rise and fall, traders calling their wares, children crying or laughing, neighbors whispering gossip. The occasional bark of a guard's command, all blending into a soft, unending hum of life. The smells are equally vivid. Smoke from fires curls into the sky and drifts down narrow lanes, mingling with the earthy tang of wet straw and the sour scent of unwashed leather. From the baker's shop comes the faint warmth of fresh bread, dark and dense, just barely sweetened. In the alleyways, however, the smells are less pleasant. Stagnant water, discarded food scraps. The faint but constant presence of disease and decay. You inhale slowly, letting your mind absorb these layers, feeling the grit of the city settle on your skin and hair, the faint prick of discomfort in your nose and throat. If you were a laborer here, your day would begin well before sunrise. Perhaps you are an apprentice, rising in the cold, dark hours, your hands raw from work that has already begun long before the city stirs. Perhaps you are a porter, hauling baskets and barrels, muscles aching, back bent, your eyes squinting against the pale morning light. The bread you eat is coarse, the ale thin and barely nourishing. Every step is a reminder of the fragility of survival in this bustling, crowded, relentless environment. Fleas and lice make their presence known, crawling through your clothing, an ever-present irritation. The city is alive with hardship, even at night, as lanterns flicker along the streets and shadows dance beneath the overhanging roofs. Watchmen call softly to one another. The occasional cry pierces the quiet, and the unseen movements of strangers remind you that vigilance is necessary at all times. And yet, there is beauty here if you let yourself see it. The gentle curve of a sunlit archway, the distant shimmer of the river reflecting morning light, the rhythm of wheels on stone, the laughter of a child chasing a chicken. These small moments of life continue even amidst toil and filth. The city is alive, breathing through its people, its streets, its walls, and its very stones. You begin to sense the heartbeat of ordinary life, repetitive, uncelebrated, yet persistent. And as you move through these streets in your mind, the sights, sounds, textures, and scents become a gentle lullaby, carrying you slowly into reflection on the past, on survival, and on the small endurance of daily existence. This is the city of common folk, a place of labor and monotony, yet rich with the textures of lived experience. And now, as the sounds fade softly in your imagination, we will prepare to meet those whose lives shaped history in more public ways, whose stories of struggle, ambition, and triumph will unfold in our next segment. As the narrow streets of the city fade from your mind, let us now turn our attention to one figure whose life, quietly monumental, shaped the rhythms and fortunes of the place. A master builder, a magistrate, or perhaps a merchant, whose name was known only within the crowded walls of the city, yet whose influence rippled through every alley and square. Imagine this person waking in a small chamber above the bustling streets. The morning light creeping through wooden shutters, dust motes drifting lazily in the air. You feel the cool touch of the wooden floor beneath your feet as you rise, stretching slowly, and hear the faint rumble of the city beginning its day. From here, life looks very different than it did on the street below. Responsibilities press upon you like the weight of stone blocks yet to be lifted, contracts to be signed, and decisions whose consequences are far-reaching. Our subject, let us say, a master mason, had learned their craft slowly over decades of apprenticeship and toil. From the first day, as an eager youth, hands raw and fingers blistered, they studied the arc of beams, the careful fitting of stones, the secret methods passed down by generations. Each wall they built, each arch they completed, carried with it both pride and a persistent anxiety, the knowledge that a single miscalculation could lead to collapse, disaster, and shame. The city itself relied on their skill, and yet, in the quiet hours, even this master builder felt the fragility of their work, a reminder that human effort is always subject to the whims of time and nature. The city, in turn, offered both opportunity and peril. Guilds maintained strict hierarchies. Apprentices waited for years to gain the skills of their mentors, and competition was constant, subtle, and unrelenting. You, standing beside this master in imagination, sense the careful calculation, the meticulous measurement, the soft rhythm of hammer on chisel, the faint scent of mortar dust mixed with damp stone. Each day is a careful balance, a dance between ambition and survival, between pride and the humility required to endure the city's trials. But the life of our subject was not only labor. There were moments of quiet reflection, brief glimpses of joy or contentment. A newly finished archway rising above the marketplace might gleam in the early sun, a testament to skill and perseverance. The laughter of children playing beneath it, oblivious to the labor that shaped their surroundings, offered a small, fleeting satisfaction. Even a simple meal, shared with family or fellow craftsmen. Coarse bread, a bit of salted fish, perhaps a mug of thin ale, became a moment of calm, a brief interlude from the relentless demands of the city. Yet hardship never strays far. Epidemics swept through the streets, fire threatened to consume wooden structures, and accidents were frequent. You feel the tension in the shoulders of the master as they supervise workers in precarious scaffolding. The careful eyes scanning every stone, every joint, aware that a single lapse could destroy weeks of labor. The mortality of those around them, fellow workers, neighbors, family, is a constant, silent companion. And still, life continues. A rhythm of work, repetition, adaptation, and cautious optimism. Consider also the social networks, the webs of obligation and patronage that the city required. Our subject must navigate guild regulations, political alliances, and the ever-watchful eyes of town officials. You sense the careful diplomacy, the quiet conversations in shadowed corridors, the notes passed between hands. These subtleties shaped the success of a career almost as much as skill with stone and timber. It is a reminder that in any city, ordinary life and extraordinary influence are intertwined, often invisibly, and survival depends not only on strength and craft, but on insight, patience, and the touch of luck. At times, our figure might have paused atop a half-built tower, looking out over the sprawling rooftops. Smoke rises in thin plumes from chimneys. Carts move slowly along rutted streets. The river reflects sunlight in rippling patches. From this vantage, the city appears almost serene, a quiet, rhythmic pulse of life. Yet every glance is tempered by the knowledge of fragility. A poorly placed stone, a sudden storm, a careless apprentice. All reminders that stability is always provisional, and that even mastery does not grant complete control. And in this reflection, you, the listener, can feel the paradox of life in a medieval city. Daily struggles on the streets below, the weariness of laborers, the constant negotiation with danger and discomfort, all contrasted with moments of human ingenuity, skill, and quiet triumph. Our master builder, like so many others whose names history has not preserved, embodies both the endurance and vulnerability of humanity. Their story is not one of grand conquest or dramatic heroics, but of incremental, persistent effort that shapes the world in ways both visible and invisible. Perhaps there were days of public recognition, a hall completed, a wall standing firm, a marketplace thriving thanks to careful planning. Perhaps there were days of sorrow, an apprentice injured, a structure failing, illness claiming someone close. You feel the full spectrum of these experiences imagined in slow motion, as if moving through each day alongside this person, breathing with them, noting with them, noting every detail of city life from the quiet chamber above to the bustling streets below. In the quiet hours of evening, as the sun dips behind the rooftops and shadows stretch long across the streets, our subject finally rests. Perhaps they sit by a small fire, the warmth radiating softly, a faint smell of smoke and charred wood mingling with the lingering aroma of evening meals. The city settles into a quieter rhythm. Distant voices fade, carts stop moving, and only the occasional footsteps echo against stone walls. The day's labor is done, for now, leaving space for reflection, gratitude, and the subtle satisfaction of having contributed to the life of the city, even in small, almost unnoticed ways. And as you, the listener, drift along with this story, you are invited to reflect not only on the life of one person, but on the countless others whose quiet endurance built the medieval city brick by brick story. It is a life filled with labor, challenge, fleeting beauty, and small triumphs. A rhythm that, while demanding, is in its own way deeply human, quietly profound, and endlessly fascinating when experienced slowly, step by step, as we have done tonight. And so, the story of this figure concludes, leaving behind a soft echo of life, labor, and persistence that lingers in the streets, in the stones, in the alleys, and market squares, quietly inviting you to imagine the mysteries yet to be explored beneath the city, and the secrets waiting in the corners of daily life, which we will explore in the next segment. Now, let us wander beneath the surface of the city, past the cobbled streets and timbered houses, into the hidden corners where mysteries linger and history quietly sleeps. Imagine the quiet hum of life above as you descend into the shadows, into alleys that twist like veins, carrying secrets of the centuries. The air is cooler here, heavier with dust and the faint scent of earth and stone, and your footsteps echo softly against walls that have witnessed countless untold stories. Beneath the city lies a network of forgotten chambers, cellars, and tunnels. Some were once used as storage for merchants, their goods stacked high, precariously balanced. Others served as clandestine meeting places where whispers of deals and conspiracies carried unseen. Archaeologists, centuries later, would uncover fragments of this hidden world, shards of pottery, iron tools, scraps of parchment, and the faint impressions of footsteps, long faded. Imagine holding one of these pieces in your hand, feeling the weight of centuries, realizing that each artifact carries a story that will never be fully known. There are mysteries that remain unsolved. Consider, for example, the secret passages rumored to connect the homes of wealthy merchants to distant streets, allowing discreet travel and perhaps the occasional escape during times of danger. These tunnels have been lost to time, yet their outlines can sometimes be glimpsed beneath uneven stones or behind false walls. You can almost hear the faint echo of hurried footsteps in the darkness, the whispered words of those who moved through them, a hidden life running parallel to the one above. Artifacts reveal glimpses of ordinary practices that now seem strange or enigmatic. Pottery decorated with intricate patterns, carefully arranged tools, and remnants of foods provide evidence of culinary tastes, work habits, and social customs. The arrangement of hearths, the layering of floors, and the subtle markings on stone and timber all speak of a people concerned with efficiency, comfort, and ritual in ways that were invisible to outsiders. As you imagine these traces, the city becomes not just a place of streets and markets, but a living archive of human experience, quietly recording every choice, every habit, every gesture. Cultural practices of the time reveal a world rich with ritual, symbolism, and social complexity. Festivals and market days brought together all classes, blending commerce, entertainment, and tradition. Imagine the smells of roasted meat and spiced bread mingling with the sound of musicians playing wooden flutes and drums. Children chase each other between stalls, laughing, while adults haggle quietly over prices. You feel the rhythm of this life, the careful orchestration of space, sound, and interaction, and you begin to sense the depth of human ingenuity that allowed a community to survive, thrive, and leave traces for generations yet to come. Some discoveries are more mysterious still. Carved stones or unusual markings etched into walls. Were they protective charms, remnants of forgotten rituals, or simply artistic expression? You can imagine the hands that created them, the intention behind every line, and the quiet moments of reflection that must have accompanied their making. Subtle reminders that even in the midst of hardship and routine, humans sought meaning, beauty, and connection. And then there are the everyday items that reveal the rhythm of life. The shoes worn thin by long hours of walking, the cooking utensils, shaped by countless meals, the tiny personal effects left behind in corners of homes. Each tells a story of practicality, resilience, and adaptation. As you picture these items, imagine the lives of those who touch them, the child balancing on worn floorboards, the parent stirring a pot over a smoky hearth, the artisan shaping tools with meticulous care. Every object is a window into a moment frozen in time, a quiet reflection of ordinary human experience. The city itself holds secrets written into its structure. Buildings lean at odd angles because of centuries of repairs, floods, and subsidence. Streets curve unexpectedly, revealing the organic growth of a community responding to terrain, commerce, and necessity rather than design. Imagine tracing your fingers along the rough stone walls, feeling the centuries of wear, imagining footsteps that echoed before yours, voices that spoke and were never recorded, lives that intersected and vanished. Even religious and ceremonial spaces add layers to the city's hidden life. Chapels tucked between homes, modest shrines in courtyards, and sacred symbols carved into doorways all speak of devotion, superstition, and the human desire for protection and blessing. You sense the quiet care with which these places were maintained. The reverent steps of worshippers, the soft murmurs of prayers, and the rhythmic rituals that punctuated daily life. It is a reminder that even amidst hardship, people sought spiritual solace, and these subtle gestures of faith became part of the hidden tapestry of the city. As you drift through these imagined spaces, notice the interplay of the known and unknown. Some rooms have been excavated and studied. Others remain sealed, their contents forever a mystery. Some artifacts tell clear stories. Others are puzzles, prompting endless speculation. You feel the thrill of curiosity mixed with calm observation, an awareness that history is a living, breathing thing, inviting you to move slowly, to contemplate, to marvel, and to let your mind wander through the quiet spaces between streets and stone. And now, as the light fades above ground, imagine the city settling into evening. The hidden corners growing darker, the faint glow of lanterns illuminating secret passageways and cellars. You hear the soft murmur of distant voices, footsteps echoing faintly, a candle flickering in a forgotten chamber. Every shadow, every artifact, every whisper of the past holds a story, incomplete, enigmatic, and yet profoundly human. And as you allow these mysteries to unfold slowly in your mind, you feel both the vastness of time and the intimacy of individual lives. A delicate balance that invites reflection, curiosity, and a gentle, drifting calm. And so, as we leave the mysteries and hidden wonders of the city behind, our journey will shift once again to the contrasting world of the elite. The rulers and the opulent spaces above the streets where power, luxury, and ritual shaped life in ways both visible and deeply hidden. The rhythm of the city continues, but from a higher, quieter perspective, revealing a different layer of human experience, which we will explore in the next segment. As the city streets settle into evening, we now rise above the alleys, the markets, and the laboring crowds, stepping into the world of those who lived in elevated halls, behind fortified walls, or in houses. Here, life moves with a different rhythm, quieter, more deliberate, and yet equally structured by the demands of society, status, and expectation. Imagine walking through a narrow doorway at the back of a grand home, up a staircase polished by centuries of footfalls, until you reach a chamber bathed in the soft glow of lanterns. The scent here is different from the city below, a mixture of burning herbs, polished wood, and faint traces of incense. Carpets woven with care and intricate patterns cover the floor, softening your footsteps, while tapestries hang along the walls, telling stories of battles, hunts, and heraldry. This is a world of order and ritual, where each object, each placement, carries significance and meaning. The inhabitants of this elevated life begin their day with rituals far removed from the labor and toil below. Clothing is carefully selected, washed, and mended, prepared to reflect status and propriety. Servants move silently through corridors, attending to needs that range from the mundane, a warm bath, fresh bread, clean linens, to the ceremonious, the arrangement of seating for visitors, the preparation of a feast. Even a quiet walk through a garden is a carefully measured act, intended to showcase wealth, refinement, and taste. Meals are a study in abundance and ritual. Imagine sitting at a long wooden table, polished to a deep sheen, plates of roasted meats, fresh bread, cheeses, fruits, and spiced wines laid before you. The clatter of cutlery is soft, the conversation measured, often filled with polite inquiries about distant relatives, business, or news from the courts. Food here is not simply sustenance. It is a statement of wealth, knowledge, and social standing. Each bite carries history, choice, and meaning, a sharp contrast to the coarse bread and thin ale of the laborers in the streets below. Education and learning also follow a different rhythm. The children of the elite are tutored in reading, writing, and arithmetic, often studying classical texts and philosophical works. Lessons are conducted in quiet chambers with careful attention to decorum, patience, and repetition. Knowledge is not only practical, but symbolic, a way to maintain status, assert authority, and shape the social landscape. You, the listener, can feel the stillness of these rooms, the slow unfolding of learning, and the gentle hum of quiet minds absorbing ideas centuries old. Yet, life for the elite is not without its pressures. There are obligations to family, guilds, and political alliances. Decisions carry weight far beyond personal consequence. They affect trade, legal disputes, and the balance of power within the city. Every action is observed, every word considered, and discretion is a constant companion. Even leisure is structured, carefully choreographed into activities that demonstrate refinement. Hunting parties, music, or evening gatherings where etiquette dictates both behavior and conversation. Ceremony and ritual are ever present, from the lighting of lamps at dusk, to the careful arrangement of furniture for a dinner party. From the precise timing of prayers to the marking of festivals, each action reinforces hierarchy and tradition. The elite move through life as though in a quiet dance, steps measured, rhythms deliberate, each movement echoing both privilege and responsibility. And yet, the comfort and security of this world do not eliminate vulnerability entirely. Illness, political shifts, or economic changes can disrupt even the most carefully managed household. A reminder that history touches all layers of society. From your vantage point, you can look down toward the streets below, where laborers continue their routines, unaware of the deliberations above. The contrast is stark. Hardship versus comfort, immediacy versus strategy, sensory overload versus refined taste. And yet, both layers are necessary, interwoven, forming the fabric of the city's life. The wealth of one depends on the work of many, and the labor of the streets enables the rituals of the halls. The city exists as a whole, with each class, each role, each daily act contributing to its pulse and endurance. As night falls fully, the city grows quiet. Lanterns flicker along the streets. The muffled sounds of carts and footsteps fade, and windows glow softly in the distance. In the grand homes, candles burn low, servants retire, and the family rests in chambers, softly lit and warmed aside. The moon casts silver shadows across rooftops and walls, illuminating chimneys, steeples, and the occasional wandering cat. The city sleeps, yet carries within it centuries of life, labor, learning, and ceremony. A living record of human experience, waiting for those who listen closely. And now, as you, the listener, have traveled through alleys, workshops, markets, and great halls, it is time to let the city's quiet rhythm guide you toward rest. You have felt the texture of stone underfoot, smelled smoke and straw, imagined the weight of labor, the careful precision of craft, the intrigue of hidden chambers, and the calm, deliberate rituals of the elite. These images, softly unfolding in your mind, are gentle reminders that history is both ordinary and extraordinary, harsh and beautiful, fleeting and enduring. Let your mind drift through the streets one last time, through the tunnels beneath, past the market, the baker's shop, the forge, and finally into the grand halls above. Feel the cool stone, the soft carpets, the warmth of the hearth, the flicker of candlelight. Let your breathing slow as your imagination traces the rhythm of the city, the heartbeat of generations, and the quiet persistence of human life. And so, dear listener, we leave the medieval city behind, not as travelers who who have conquered or changed it, but as gentle observers who have walked its streets in thought, felt its textures, breathed its scents, and glimpsed the lives of those who built, labored, and governed it. May the echoes of this city carry you softly into dreams, where the cobblestones, the laughter, the whispers, and the flickering lanterns continue their quiet dance, guiding you toward rest, comfort, and the gentle hush of sleep. Sleep well, and let the history of lives long past drift through your mind like a calm, unending river, carrying the quiet, persistent stories of those who lived, labored, and dreamed in the heart of a medieval city.